Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be with you on another amazing Spiritual Rockstar Podcast show. I'm so grateful to share with you this energy scan show with Dr. B. Thomas, and oh my God, she's got the secret keys for you for business success. She has actually done scientific study. I want to call them scientific studies. I know she has another word for it, but it's basically science. I mean, we're basically drilling down to the nitty gritty of what really works for a business, particularly too if you're a Black woman, African woman, American woman. So, because there's so many people that there's different formulas for success, right? Not everybody's path is exactly the same. So, what's the right one for you? You'll learn more about that during the show, as well as I'm doing an energy scan for her today to help her with wherever she is in her business, move through some certain energies maybe that I pick up on, and maybe give her some downloads and strategies to move her business forward. So I'm really looking forward to diving right into it with her today. So Dr. B, I'm so grateful to have you today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and looking forward to this show.
Yeah, me too. So let's tell everybody more about you. So Dr. B. Thomas is an NFT artist, author, speaker, and business educator. Her work was featured at San Diego's first NFT conference in April of just 2022. So that's amazing. She was also a speaker at the NFT NYC, LA Expo Verse, and Women and Web3 in Miami. So things like expanded things for our future and our present even. It's amazing what she's getting herself into. She was recently featured in Times Square. She is renowned for her published phenomenological groundbreaking research study that I mentioned on the success factors of African American female entrepreneurs and her achievements as a serial entrepreneur. So again, it's just an honor to have you on, Dr. B. And I love that you're a serial entrepreneur, and I wanted to get right into that. Can you tell people a little bit about your background, as an African-American, female yourself in business and a serial entrepreneur? I'd love to know, how did you get, activated into getting into business and all that? First of all, I just wanted to kind of start there. I'm just kind of curious.
Well, first of all, I have to apologize to your audience because I'm recovering from a little bit of the sniffles. The weather here has been, just like everywhere in the United States, chilly. And so even though I live right by the beach in sunny Carlsbad, it's just been a little chilly out here. But nevertheless, my entrepreneurial journey started way back in 2007. At the time, I was, working for the government. And, by then I'd served the government for at least 10 years at that point. Nevertheless, I felt like it was time for me to do something different. I felt like it was time for me to do something more. And so I started researching what kind of businesses would be appropriate for me to start. And one thing led to another. And I started with a tea and coffee business, which was an e-commerce business at the time. E-commerce wasn't completely burned out then. People probably remember the 90s and the dot-com boom and all of that. Well, there were still people who were, joining that industry, even in 2007, of course. And so I decided to jump on board with that. Nevertheless, that was around the time that I also had gotten into the doctoral program and started doing research as it pertains to business.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's just been like 20 some years since all that. To me, being a little bit older now, it's like, it doesn't seem that long ago, but yet again, it is 20 plus years ago. But like, how much has changed since that time? You know, like back then, it's like it almost seemed like it was so easy, especially when I first started online in 2000. Man, it's so easy to make money if you sharpen up at all. You learn some things, you apply yourself. Man, it's easy to make money on the internet. It still is if you get focused in the right area for you. But back then it was like so many ways to make money that were easy. You know, like there wasn't the sense of maybe overload the way there is on the internet today. So I can relate to what you're saying. And yeah, there's so many businesses that have come and gone on the internet. But we're going to talk about the lasting keys to success in a bit here. But so that's what. So what really prompted you to get into so the business? It's not. What is it? Was it because you just didn't want to keep going, and the machine kind of? Lots of people say, I just want to reach, get out of the matrix of doing all these business, like the corporate or the federal government or whatever it may be, is what I'm trying to say. And was it that sort of bug, or what was it that brought you into business yourself?
Oh my goodness. Well, I knew I wanted to work for myself many moons prior to starting my first company. I had that in my spirit, and essentially I think that came from this desire to do more, and this desire to really serve humanity in a way that was unique and specific for me, and not having to feel like, I would be controlled in any type of way. And also being able to run a company that was based upon my own ethics. That was super important for me, because oftentimes you might work for organizations and companies and your ethics may not be in alignment with them. So I had thought about all of these things years prior to starting my first company, and yet it just so happened that this opportunity presented itself, and it made it easy for me to enter because it was on an e-commerce platform. And so I could kind of test out the waters a bit, work my day job, and then at the same time do a little moonlighting. So essentially, it gave me an opportunity to get my feet wet in the world of running your own company. But my mindset was already there.
Right, right. That's so great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things we take for granted now, how easy it is to start a business versus, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years ago or something, before the internet and everything. Like, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to sell your stuff? You might brick and mortar and all this stuff. It's like you got overhead, all that stuff you have to think about. Like that, it really was a bigger a barrier to entry, as they say, right? Is really a lot bigger. So I think so many people have gotten into business for so many reasons, but one of it, it's like it's so much easier to get something started today. And I think that's an overlooked benefit that we have now, that we just, it's funny how we start to take certain things for granted. Like it's easy. Now it's just as easy to fail if you don't get the mindset right, though. So, right?
Absolutely. So, speaking of mindset, just, that goes into the keys of business success, which is essentially what I had started to study, way back then, unknowingly in some ways, because when you're running your own company, ultimately you do want it to be successful. And so you have to develop from the inside. And, one of the things that turns out to be a key indicator of success is how your mindset functions. And so, you hear the great people like Napoleon Hill, we know about Think and Grow Rich, these different concepts that have entered into the business psyche for years. And they talk about mindset, how important it is in order to develop, in order to have a successful company to begin with. So yeah, the mindset principle was something I learned early on. And specifically, having a positive mindset, having a winner's attitude, having a courageous mindset. This is something I found within my research studies that was significant, especially for all small business owners, for all business owners. When you think about it, you're a pioneer in so many ways as a business owner. You're putting yourself out there. You're putting your passions and bringing them to the market. And so it takes a lot of courage in order for you to do that. This courage, this need for courage is amplified in groups like African American women, specifically because of the fact that oftentimes, they may feel marginalized. And so therefore it takes a lot more, I want to say courage in order to step outside of the victim mindset in the first place. It takes courage to be able to do that. And so, yeah, essentially
Yeah,
mindset
totally.
is number
Totally.
one.
Yeah, that's your first step. And so for you, that, yeah, I can see that for you, for others, for so many of us, like any of us, anybody, like to start a business is a big leap for most everybody. And like, wow, okay, we have the courage to even do that. Because the idea is, well, get the steady paycheck. That's how my family was more, even though they both had their own sort of businesses, they still had a steady paycheck kind of thing because they both had like one main client. Both of my parents mostly had one main client for most of their business life. And it's so, my mom is like, well, I've always thought you would do better. Like, doesn't matter how successful you are, so still think like you should be another one. Oh, the steady paycheck, she get a doctorate degree. God bless her. I get it. Maybe she thinks that's a better route for me, but it's like, there's where it's so strong, like no matter what, like some people just think like, no, this is the way to do it. You don't take chances like that. That's crazy, right? And yet they say that's the crazy ones that end up getting all the good stuff. Right? End up seeing all these big things, whether again it's the size of an Apple kind of company or whatever. Like it's the crazy ones that went out, as long as you keep staying crazy, right? Because really it is. It's like having what people would consider unrealistic expectations, right? Ultimately, like, yeah, you can put on paper, oh, look, looks good on paper, it's going to happen, right? But it's all with an unrealistic expectation. Oh, it's happening, right? That's the mindset, locking in, get really strong and really deciding, and then the energy is coming into you is how I have experienced it. What have you experienced with that? What's your, or what's your research show about, like some of the keys with the mindset? You have mentioned positivity, courage, and whatnot, but anything else you want to share on that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Self-esteem is
Mhm.
another
Mhm.
principle that came up in the research. And
Mhm.
what's unique about that is women entrepreneurs in general sometimes lack the self-esteem that is required in order to be successful. So sometimes they lack the confidence in order to be successful, which means can be very problematic, because if you lack the confidence in your business, it's going to be hard for you to really sell your service or your product or whatever you're offering is to your customer. And so therefore you have to have that feeling of knowing that you have something to offer to the world, and knowing what you have has so much value. Again, that's a mindset principle, knowing that what you have has value. Another thing that comes up is just this need to grow from within, and to allow yourself the freedom to be all of who you are, and to not be apologetic about being who you are. That's something else that comes up in the research. And I think people who start their own businesses, they're rebels in a way, they're risk takers, definitely. And in some ways they can't afford to be apologetic about doing and being what comes naturally for them, and that is to be an innovator and to create products and services that bring value to this world.
Yeah, yeah. That's so well said. And so with the self-esteem and everything, I've always this isn't exactly business related, but it totally is ultimately too. Like I'll never forget. Like my background is in psychology. Got my didn't do the doctorate route. I skipped out on that one so far. But although I was told by one of my professors, "You're going to get that doctorate one. Everybody wants me to be a my mom, others, you're going to get that doctorate." Which is great. I mean, it's great, everybody that does that. I just never did. But But one of the things I remember, so many things, but one was studies with, I'm sure you know this one well, but like with the Barbie dolls, right? To give like African American girls like different dolls, the regular white girl dolls or whatever, African American dials, and they gravitate towards the whites, the white. And so when we're thinking about like just self-esteem in general, we think about things like that. And then we think about also where the whole example thing, like where are the examples? Like how many, I mean, as far as like really seismic influencers in terms of like in the business space purely, it's hard to think of African American women. I mean, who can you think of like for most people? And you might think of Oprah, she's totally a business person, but ultimately, but that's not how she got started really. So, but yeah, it's hard to think of like that many people, like for most of us anyway. Whereas and women, yeah, even that's hard, but it's a little easier than like, I know, oh, African American female entrepreneur is really difficult. And that makes a huge difference in mindset too. Like, is it even possible for me? It's like it gets in our subconscious. It's crazy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the study that you mentioned is very significant, and
Mhm.
I can remember it because of its impact. And yeah, the girl, the Black girl, the African American young girl was given a choice at the time
Mhm.
to decide whether she wanted the white doll or the Black doll. And
Mhm.
she gravitated towards the white doll because she felt more identity there. She didn't want she didn't
Right.
identify, she didn't want to accept who she was. And so I think being able to see yourself represented throughout the world is very important. Throughout the world is very important. Being able to see yourself everywhere is significant. Being able to see positive representations of someone doing exactly what it is that you want to do. And the troubling thing about the research as it pertains to business ownership is that often for the last 40 years, it's been polarized. Research on African American women has been polarized. Research on women business owners is severely marginalized as well. Most of our research has focused on white men, and it makes sense because white men start a lot of businesses, and yet African American women are starting businesses at excessive rates. And yet, the failure rate is significantly high as well. So part of me doing the research was to add to the body of knowledge because again, it's minimal.
Right. Right.
And we need to know how all businesses function so that we as business owners can learn, especially from groups that, like I said, may have issues or certain unique challenges more so, all business owners have challenges. Maybe certain groups have more challenges depending on other variables. Nevertheless, if these groups can still manage to be successful, then all business owners can learn from those groups.
Right. Exactly. You may as well take one of the groups anyway that may be seen as least likely to succeed, just not because it should be that way, just because maybe that's the way it's been so far. And like, look at what their keys of success are. And just to remind our viewers and listeners as well, like that's what we're doing here. Like this is what she found for African American female entrepreneurs. Like these were the keys. Mindset's key for everybody, but there's specifics, for the African American entrepreneur as well. So anyway, so we've got the first one. This is all from her book. Expect effing more. Come on now. Okay, so one of the things we chatted about this on your number 2 key. I won't bring up what it is yet, but not everybody sees success the same. One of the things that I've seen is in working with countless women overall, not as many African American women for sure, but countless women, is because almost very few men. I've had more over the years because I put more emphasis on it now, but which is interesting when we say, well, it's mostly white men, in business, but in the space I'm in, it's not been that way anyway in my experience. It may not even be true, but that's just what I've drawn to me. But anyway, my point is that a lot of times it just seems like, well, are we having a good time? Are we collaborating? Am I having the lifestyle I want? Like all those things factor in more for certain people than others. And it seemed to me like for women especially, like these family, like time with my kids if they have kids, or time to travel, or time whatever it is. But like everybody, but it's not a stereotype either. I don't want to make it that, but everybody's different. But like I did find, whereas men might be like, I have to provide for my family, like may be different in their energy about it. Like, so it's very different what success means for each person in their business. I think sometimes we're so busy measuring money, we forget, in the past especially, it's getting better, but like we forget about everything else. We still have so many motivational messages. Well, what are you going to do when you get to your first million? And then you need to get to your first billion, and then you better work 10 times harder and all this stuff. It's like, well, not everybody wants that, but it's given to us as though that's what everybody should want. So what have you found? What was the number 2 key? I'm kind of giving it away a little bit, but what was the number 2 key, and what have you found about these things?
Yeah, you are spot on the money with that. No pun intended. So the second key to business success is defining success your way. And yes, you're absolutely correct. The way that women business owners in general, of course, this is in general, there are always outliers. The way that they define success, according to the research, is often, are their customers happy? Are they delivering quality? Do they have repeat customers, for example? And also, are they able to work from home and be with their families? Do they get their time back? And of course, we know that time is essentially money as well. And yet, women entrepreneurs in general are not necessarily focused on the financial gain of business ownership compared to men. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just something that's noted within the research. And so because we know that, it's significant for women to really, define what success means for them, and to be willing to, and not just be in one particular paradox, be able to expand beyond, what they would typically consider to be success. And that includes also realizing that you can make money too.
Right, exactly. One of the things I've seen, Dr. V, in my, cursory research, interviewing lots of people over the years and being in this space for a long time now, a business, it's just, what I've seen is like the most successful people, it's just because, like they say, their why is so strong and deep. And honestly, if they didn't make any money, they still be on fire wanting to do what they want to do. Like they aren't all necessarily money obsessed, but they are completely obsessed with whatever their mission is. Like, oh my God, how, the most successful, the people that, max it out the most, so to speak, in impact, or however you want it. So, but they love it so much. Like I know people who, one of my mentors that helped me in various ways, but like, it's like his philosophy in his life, and he teaches people as lazy as possible. That's how we're going to do it, as lazy as possible, basically. I think that's amazing. Mark Allen's his name, publisher for Eckhart Tolle, has sold gazillions of copies, and he's done many other very major authors. So he's making tons of money. He works very little. And that's right for him. That's his definition of success. But like, let's say I said, okay, that's what I want. But then I started living that life. I'm like, I don't want this. I actually want to work more hours. Then that's my definition of success. It doesn't matter if that he says that it's all that for him. What about me? So I think that's so important, is this whole defining what success means for you. I could rant forever on this one, because you got to find your own truth. That's what this whole show is dedicated to, really, in large part. What's the real truth there? So I love that. That's one of your keys. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to get to the third key. So what is your third key? I'll just ask you.
So the third key, after we've defined what success means for us, you really need to develop your business development. And that's something that is ongoing from the time that you start your company until the time maybe that you decide to sell your company. Business development, again, starts from the inside out. So you develop yourself. The research indicates that business development is very significant, specifically for African American women who are more inclined to gravitate towards training programs. And as we were speaking about in another conversation, the reason why they're likely to do this is because there tends to be a gap between a learning gap or an experience gap, I should say. That's probably a better way to put it. Oftentimes women, African-American women, are not in leadership positions within their jobs. And so therefore, they require more learning in order to develop the management principles. And these management principles are necessary for women entrepreneurs in general. And so
Right.
therefore, African-American women are more inclined to go to school. They're more inclined to pick up more information. And this actually helps them to close that knowledge gap, oftentimes seen. And so again, business development is important for everyone,
Right.
but it's all the more important for someone who does not have management experience. It's all the more important for someone who may not be a natural leader. It's all the more important, and it's important for everyone, but it's all the more important for certain individuals who may be missing certain characteristics that are necessary for success.
Right. Yeah, I love that. That makes sense. That the lack of leadership roles would be a big impact on their ability to succeed in a business. For any of us, like for me, yeah, I don't know. I had leadership background a little bit, but in different ways. But it's not like I was in corporate, like driving a train as a manager, mid-level manager or anything like that. So I have seen like people that come out of corporate that are really successful there often can translate that much more easily into business success than someone who has no such background. It really does make a big difference. Now that doesn't, again, I'm not here to discourage them. You can develop the skills. Like like what Dr. B is saying, you can develop the skills, but I think like a lot of times we don't even realize, well, what skills do you need to develop? But I don't think people know. Most of the people listening don't know. Like, I don't care what your business is, you probably don't, most people don't know. And, that's why this is so helpful. Like even just going through these, because then we could go through a whole thing with business development, right? But like, even looking at these 5 keys are like really important. Like these are things you really want to develop. So it's funny that we don't know these, that we're not educated in these things.
No, we're not educated at all. And that's why in the book, I talk about working like a CEO while you're still an employee. And so I talk about what experiences that I've personally had that I've been able to extrapolate from my own employment and how I've been able to use those skills as an entrepreneur. And I think those skills are important to know because maybe a person is currently working in a position and feels like, they want to do something more, but they feel so stuck. Well, number one, their mindset has to shift. Number two, they have to define success. Number three, they have to start creating the mindset like a CEO wherever they are so that they can start working and leading in that position, no matter what position that is, whether it be a janitor or whether it be the mailman, whatever the position it is, you want to lead in that position because that's going to prepare you to be a leader in your business.
Right. Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, even if you're in a business and you want to become the CEO someday, you better start acting like the CEO leader now in your own way, right? So I think that's so great. And then yeah, we're going through these a bit briefly, but we want to share this information with you. We are going to give you a chance to go much deeper into this material, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But what's the 4th key that you discover?
Yeah, the fourth key is a very significant key, like all of the keys. And again, this is very important for women business owners in general, who oftentimes do not focus on money. And so the fourth key is knowing your numbers. Um, and I call it financial wizardry. It's about really having a connection with numbers, and numbers are intimidating, as we spoke before, to everyone. There's not too many people in the world who are like, oh, I just love talking about numbers. And yet for the business owners, numbers are important, whether that because of accounting for one, and then also, knowing what to focus on, and what is going to generate the most revenue for you is very important as well. So numbers is essential. Knowing things like your profit margin is something that I talk about in the book, and that's a little techie, but or not techie, excuse me, a little academic. May seem like it's a little academic, and yet it can be useful in helping you, to determine which businesses have the most value for you. It's very practical.
Mhm. Right, exactly. And even then, once there's all that, and then there's like knowing the numbers in the business you're working in the first place, whatever you're in, you got to work your numbers. And when you don't work your numbers, again, you are going to be lost, for the most part, like most people. Like some people say, I don't do any numbers, I'm fine. But I'm telling you, you're probably not maxing out what you could do those. You're not detailed enough with the numbers and looking at the numbers. So I know even myself, there's certain levels sometimes that for sure, I go like, yeah, I want to look at the numbers. I want to go through everything. Okay, now I've had enough of the numbers. So let's put them away. Why not get stronger on the numbers? We avoid the numbers. We're like number phobic. It's like because it's attached to money, usually, right? In business. So it's like, okay, we gotta look at them. Oh, okay. Like a lot of the people that come to me, even people who are doing okay or well sometimes, yeah, even people do really well sometimes, they don't know their numbers. Oh yeah, I made, 6 figures, or lots of figures, or 7 figures. So what are your exact numbers? Tell me. I don't know. Let me look them up. I'm like, what? You should know your numbers, like right off the top of your head for the most part, right? So it should get more like that. That's your best business owners are going to know their numbers, like on average. I'm not saying you can't get away with some of it, some of that. Okay, maybe having somebody managing it, but when other people manage your numbers, you might be in for some very unpleasant surprises eventually, right? So you want to work those numbers, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've seen this happen over the years to different celebrities who've
Yeah.
had other people manage their numbers
Yeah.
exclusively and ended up in hot water. I think a lot of the reasons, like you said, the reason why we're having an issue with numbers is because of fear.
Yeah.
Have a fear surrounding the energy of money.
Yeah.
And that can be very problematic because if you fear it, and so it actually repels it away from you. Money is a divine feminine energy, actually, that wants to be loved and wants to be cared for and wants to be valued and wants to be appreciated. And so fear takes us away from that. So another part of knowing your numbers is really getting down to how you feel about money. A good book recommendation on that would be Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
Yes.
Who the author of that one is, but
T. Eckhart, T. Harv Eckhart. I was trying to say. I knew I had it in there somewhere. I read that. Now that one I read, but it's been a long time since I read that one. But yeah. So it's that one really made a real impact in my in my awareness, consciousness, and probably incorporated some of those secrets, but I don't know if I'm really practicing it fully, to be honest. But it is a good book. I will say that. Yeah. So this is great. So it just really learning how to work with like one of the things I remember talking about, like, yeah, like other people have this too, but like the fund systems with money, like come up with a 10% blow fund, and where you just like you just go do whatever you want with it, have fun with it, and take 10% for this or whatever, all the percentages and everything, and that's all working with the numbers. And I've a lot of very successful people utilize these systems. And I just read somewhere, or maybe I don't know if I read it or heard it on a podcast, who knows, but I heard like people who really tithe for a long period of time always seem to do really well financially. Like if you just use it as a gimmick, maybe it doesn't work so well, right? Like, I'll get more that way, I'll just tithe. But yeah, people are really invested in tithing, do really well, like research shows. So it's amazing. Like these things really work because you're really saying yes to prosperity by being committed and focused precisely on specifics, right? Specifics and with specific intentions. I think it makes a world of difference for sure. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you're focused on, giving, you're practicing this, you're inviting the spirit of abundance to you by focusing on giving and by focusing on gratitude. These are things that open the door, to financial abundance.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the fifth key. So what's the fifth one then?
So the fifth key is, again, all of these keys are very significant and they work very well together. The fifth key is all about networking, establishing networks of support, extremely significant for all business owners, especially African-American women business owners, because according to the research, African-American women oftentimes are not part of professional organizations that basically cater to women business owners. They're not part of the National Association of Women Business Owners, for example, in high numbers. They're least likely to join these organizations because oftentimes, according to the research, they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. And that's very problematic. Again, that goes back to this, what we were talking about earlier, about the need to see yourself all over the world is important. And so women also benefit, all people benefit from networking. Women business owners are naturally inclined to do more networking. Women business owners in general are more likely to work together. Men are least likely to network, according to the research, because men business owners tend to be kind of more isolated and off on their own, doing their own thing and not necessarily coming together as in groups. And yet we find networking to be very important for all people who are willing to or who want to start a business, because of course it connects you to people. It connects you to people. I mean, just look at our world, the world that we live in, and how significant networking is just on a global scale. Yeah. So it's critical for your success to connect with other people. No man is an island unto himself. You need to tap into the resources, the education of other people, and also you need to give your resources and your knowledge and your education to people so that you can participate in this thing called networking. It's not just about you receiving, it's also about you giving.
Right, right. Well, the best networkers tend to be the people sending the most referrals and all that sort of stuff, right? Most knowledge, wisdom, resources, and all that stuff. And yeah, I've run networking groups a little bit, had my own, and yeah, maybe starting something again, who knows? But so yeah, networking is huge. The reason why we're talking today is because of networking, right? So just to show the power of networking. So here we are. Yeah, I mean, we're nowhere with, it's about circulating with people. That's how you get successful at anything. Like, you got to circulate with other people, otherwise you're not going to have that success in business, at least for sure. I mean, not usually. I guess there's always a way, or through advertising, I guess, but usually it happens through networking, the biggest deals, the biggest opportunities, etc. So yeah, that's great. So thank you. We're gonna there are links in the podcast show notes wherever you're listening, so we'll share more about the links where you can learn more about Dr. B as we go along in the show. But you can find out more about this all over the internet if you put in her name. So, okay, Dr. B, so we've did a lot of interviewing because I could just go on for hours talking about all this stuff. So much more so than I usually do, which is fine. It is what it is. But I'd like to talk to you, yeah, about your business, where you're at. You had we didn't even mention this early on because we dive right into the content, right? More so, but you've had successful businesses. You've had six-figure businesses. I don't know if you've had seven-figure businesses and whatnot, but you've built businesses that have been successful, and now it seems like you're in a place where you're like, I want to teach people how to be more successful in business, right? Like, I think that's really amazing.
Absolutely. I've experienced a lot of success as a business owner, and I know that that's relative, to say something like that. Yet I will tell you that the average African-American female business owner, her revenue is $25,000 a year, which is significantly low, significantly low. And I can tell you that I've superseded that so many times, hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've been able to make within my business. And that came from a place of understanding what it took to be a business owner, establishing businesses that made millions, using my, principles, and then also using my own experiences to create these businesses. So I've been in several industries. I've been in the cannabis space. I've been in the CBD space, and now within the Web3 space. And throughout the entire time, I have made, so much significant headway, and yet there's always room for more growth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always a lot more room for growth for all of us, and I think that's where the wisdom comes in, is realizing there's always more. I love that you shared about that number, 25K in revenue average for African American women in business, and yeah, I mean it's a little divergent from the topic, but I remember going to a speaker event. Now, this is me as a white guy, but I went to a place where it was mostly probably people in business. It was like 300 plus people. And they asked people to stand up if you're even making six figures. And not too many people even stood up for that. I mean, and then how many of you are making multi six figures? And so I was standing up still in that crowd. And then then it went to seven or whatever, all the next numbers. But I always say like it was only, I'll just say, because people usually even guess at a lower number. I guess people are onto it, but like only 12 people in a room even had made multi six figures, and to me, I don't see myself as an uber successful entrepreneur at all, but I'm like, wow, I would have thought it would be a little bit more, a little bit better than that, for sure. So no, it's like having the courage to get into the ring and keep going is where it's at. Like probably every single one of them were like me. They probably ran into all kinds of pain, all kinds of dark night of the souls again and again and again until things started breaking through. And that's how you become successful. Like almost everybody goes through it. Almost everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody goes through it. And that's one of the things I always like to remind people of. Got to keep going.
Absolutely. You're so correct. And oftentimes you don't hear people talk about it, the dark night of the soul. People don't talk about the difficulties in running a business. They just see the success, and they say, oh, that person was an overnight success, but they don't know what they had to do in order to get there. And when the fact is the average household definitely doesn't even make, they don't make 100K a year. The average person doesn't make that at all. The average business owner doesn't make that. And yet you have people who are striving to become business owners because they have a strong why. That's why the why is so significant. So yeah, I've experienced a lot of success. I've also experienced a lot of failures. What has helped me through the whole process has been my why.
Oh man, that's so true. That's so true. One of the things I just heard today, I thought it was really just such a basic tip, but so important. Someone successful was saying, if you don't tear up when you talk about your why, you haven't got to your why yet, right? Like it's very emotional. It's very, very big for you. And then he says, keep going until you get to that level with it. Otherwise, you haven't hit it yet. And I think that's a great tip anyway. So
Yeah, that's a great tip. I love that.
yeah. So I'd love to talk to you about the current business you're focused on, which is helping other business owners and where you're at with it a little bit. And so we can do some energy scan. This is supposed to be straight up energy scan show. I'm enjoying the interview part so much. We haven't got to it yet. But so tell me about where what phase you're in the business, how long you've been doing this particular business and how it's going and what successes you're having with it, like anything you want to share with that. And then more importantly for the show is to help you is like, what challenges are you having in the business?
Yes, well, I've been consulting for a long time now. I started consulting within the CBD space, and then that morphed into helping African American women business owners. And then I found that my target audience found me. So essentially, lots of women are attracted to my services and sign up for mentorship.
Mhm.
So that is what I've been focused on lately.
That's you.
Pardon me. That's a good sign.
Yes, yes. Bless you.
I received that blessing. And so recently I made an adjustment to my pricing, and that has created a significant challenge for me. When you have VIP consulting, for example, and you're doing it during a time where the world has shifted in such a way, and so the last thing people think that they need is a consultant.
Yeah. I
When
don't
that,
know. Well, a lot of what I hear from my clients, I don't hear it as much lately, but I always have heard it at times, right? Is I've done everything. I've put all my money in all kinds of, consulting or counseling or coaching or whatever, all these masterminds, big programs, and I've done it all. I'm just figuring it out on my own now. I hear a lot of that sort of thing going on these days because the coaching and consulting thing really just blew up like, over these last 15, 20 years. Like it was nothing compared to what it is back then versus what it is now. And a lot of people have been sold all kind of bills of goods, like, oh, this is going to solve all your problems. And it doesn't. Like, okay, maybe I don't trust as much now. And so some of us are running into that, I know for sure. But yeah, I'm wondering about that. Like, so she went to VIP level pricing versus what you're charging before. Okay, I'm going to use my energy scanning gifts to kind of just tune into the vibration. So I feel like whatever the pricing was before, we might get in details, we may not. But the feeling is more like, hey, girlfriend, don't worry. I'm going to help you out. I've been successful. I'm not going to make it too bad on you. And hey, that's the vibe I get. Okay, is that somewhat accurate?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And also bringing people to the levels that you've been and beyond. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in
Yes.
myself, and so to show people that it's okay for you to do that, that you actually benefit by pouring into yourself, is important to me.
Yes.
So by having them invest in themselves is initially shifting their mindset, which is what I want to do. Again, being that first key to business success.
Right. So you're more in your, I don't know, CEO goddess energy or something like that. I don't know, like power. That's what you're being called into now, is what it feels like. And the alignment's getting stronger, but it doesn't feel full to me yet, like in terms of serving in this business. So the key is just really shifting into that where it's definitely servant leader energy at the same time, but it's like, I'm serving you through an example. Yeah, of course it's going to be 50 grand or whatever, whatever the fee is. We don't necessarily have to get into all the numbers today, but whatever it is, it's like, okay, this is what it is. oh my God, I can't possibly do that. And, okay. All right, you're not ready, right? I know your training is to say that ultimately, right? You're supposed to, I know what you really say, but I know some of the people you're working with. I know what the way they are. Okay, this isn't for you then. So I know some of these people so well. So yeah, I mean, but it's like you're showing up in such a way to inspire them into that level. What I'm thinking about, maybe you already have this, is do you have how do people find you other than through like the podcasts, of course, and things like that? But can people come into like a nice little nest area, right? Like if it's an event or a retreat or whatever it is, but like a little nest thing, they can just, boop, oh, I could do that. Boom. I'm going to get some great ideas. It's going to 10 or 100x my business. Just this little thing we're going to do. Okay, great. Boop, just drop right into there. And then it's like once they realize how much is possible, their esteem and their sense of what they can stand into gets strong enough, I think they will invest that money. Now, I'm not saying you need to do this to make it happen. I'm just saying this is a way I could see it happening. Okay, this is a little bit of the combination of CEO goddess, powerhouse, and like, hey, girlfriend, I'm going to help you out. Like a merger of it, sort of in a sort of a nest. And then, oh, but your potential is like so much more. Now you can see that. Now you can step into this. So I don't know. Like, I mean, it's not like a remarkable strategy in terms of like it's in terms of just like the specifics. Like a lot of people do that, but like that's what I didn't know if you have that yet. Do you have something like that yet?
Yeah, I used to have like a Facebook group, and I noticed, for example, to have a place where people can kind of get together and receive all sorts of content and information. And I found that there was a shift, maybe it took place not that long ago. Seemed like Facebook groups were functioning at a higher level
Yeah.
just a few years ago, and now things have shifted in such a way where they almost become like deserts.
Some of them, yeah. And again, it all depends on your alignment, though, right? So
Mhm.
I don't think the Facebook group is what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about, again, more of a retreat or an event sort of thing, an
Ah,
exclusive event or exclusive retreat, where
ah,
people are um, are on an invite basis only into the event is how it feels like. It's like they're seen as special. Like, man, you have so much potential. You need to be in this. So I could see people that you're connected with that love you, especially if you focus more and more on African American women exclusively. Like, oh, I know somebody that needs to be in your group. I know it. Like, I just know they need to be in it. And like you're like, oh, great. Like, and then we refer them to you, and then you drop them right into this retreat or whatever it is. I don't know what the offering is for 100%. And then they get in, and then they want to work with you at a higher level. So that's what
mm.
I'm talking about. That's what I would recommend you create. Like it's really clear to me anyway. So does that sound like it's be something that may align or work for you? Is an idea to tease out some more?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea. And it's so funny that you mentioned it because, I was just talking to a girlfriend of mine about, the need for us to do events and et cetera, et cetera. And I had been thinking about in the past doing some sort of a retreat. And when you do these retreats, you have like these masterminds in a way, if you will. You do give people the opportunity to connect with you at a more intimate way, and so they are willing to work with you, but they need to share your energy first, and I think that's important, especially when you're doing a high ticket sale. So I agree.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would work like could work like magic if it's put together correctly. Is what's coming to me. I'll go through your chakras briefly. We're kind of getting out of control on our time today, but as long as you have time, you're doing okay. I mean, we can keep going here. Okay, all right. So let's see. So as I go through your chakras, we go um, like what I see, it's always good to get another perspective. I know, again, if people you talk with do a lot of this stuff, but yeah, it's just really a lot. It's really big. Your crown chakra energy is really big. So so what I'm getting is as you're moving through some of your own deeper stuff that isn't fully clear yet, or so to speak, just to give it some language, is of like, maybe I'm not good enough or whatever, like kind of little vibe I feel in your solar plexus, like for example, wounded child, all this stuff. But in its big energy, it's like you're meant to open up this huge space for like so many people. Like it just feels like so many people you're open up, and people just want to come into that channel that you are in that space, and they're like, oh my God, I can do it. You know, like that's how it comes to me. And so you bring, you're you're the like the child of infinite possibilities, you know, or the goddess, or whatever words we want to use, but you know what I mean? Like it's infinite possibilities. And so your natural signature, along with these women, at their core, they do have that wondrous inner child that's like, I know everything's possible, but it was totally frozen and shut down early, like so many of us, but like I see, especially for this tribe, like, oh yeah, you're not all that. Forget that stuff. You know, like, I see that all being squashed down. So that's one of the things I see. So so anyway, so I see the crowd. So anyway, I see the gift you have and what you're called into in this way. And then but yeah, so you got a smart brain, you could think things through in a linear sequential ways, very good, all that good stuff. Um, there is some, you know, like when I get into third eye energy, there's some very much hesitation, some fear, some let's pull it back, let's not, and also with your voice too, like let's not go, not too much, just a little more scholarly than more depth and spiritual energy flowing through there, right? It's like, let's get a little more scholarly, you know, it's a little safer. So like as we get into deeper into the stronger energy, that energy current that wants to be really bold, and the channel that you are and what you see for other people, and being that kind of oracle-like person or whatever, you know, all that stuff, like that's going to be really big for you. So that's part of what I see want to happen. Heart's good. There's open energy there. There's not like tons of guarding or anything like I see in some people's heart chakras. Like sometimes I'm like, whoa, okay, protections all over the place. Yeah, it's interesting. It feels, I'm doing this a little bit quickly today, but it feels like, yeah, despite the seeming betrayals we've had, you know, in this life and past lives, like there's some level of like surrender and giving yourself like, okay, all right, that happened, you know, there's a certain level of that that's happened for you. That's really rare. It's really rare. When most people with all these betrayals or everything, they still are guarding or they're distrustful, and you're like, oh, well, mostly I'm very trustful, and I just kind of trust what I sense is my truth. And so it's really powerful. It's really a tremendous gift. It really is. So I just wanted to share that about your heart chakra. That power center like keeps feeling tight for me. So it feels more like this tightness. So yeah, I think it's like sometimes you'd like to be the leader, but a little bit into the back seat is the feeling I get. Like, oh, can I just kick back a little bit? Just, yeah, can I just consult more so? Yeah, like I'll just tell you how to lead. You know, like I don't want to lead too much. I've been there, done that, or you know, I get a little of that too. Like been there, done that. It's a little heavy for me, you know. And so, but maybe there's a way to lead in a new way, right? And just from a more embodied this more embodied spiritual energy. We'll just call it that for today. So with that, then I feel like, you know, it's a little bit, but then if you feel like, as you feel into, I hear like tingles, as you feel the tingles from the guides and the angels and everything, and you feel this electrified energy in the spirit with the people you're here to serve. It feels more like a dance. It feels like, hey, we're it's like a orchestrated dance or something. I don't know how to explain it, but like it's this okay, all right, you know. And so it's a lovely connected energy. And leading the way in this orchestrated kind of synchronistic dance of evolution with these women doesn't feel like a big deal. That it's, you've got your grounding in the light, and then you're open, like all of a sudden I get this sense of landing. So I'm just trying to put some words again to something that's hard to just put into words. And then but yeah, the inner child is definitely being guarded. It's been maybe shamed or kind of slapped around or made wrong, etc. Definitely see that in your sacral. So it gets locked up, it gets buried out. Yeah, you found the outlets for it, you know, more and more, but it's still, it's so exuberant that it's way shut down versus the amount of exuberance that it has. So that's what I'm seeing there. And then let's see, the root chakra. Okay. So it's like I'm hearing is like, as long as so on a financial level in the root chakra, let's just go with that for now. Everything is like, okay, so as long as everything's provided for, as I keep hearing, easily, everything's provided for easily, as long as everything's provided for easily, that seems where it's resonating right now. So it's got to be provided. So it's got to be, so there's trust in that, but then there's like, oh shit, but maybe I have to really work harder and get after this. Is a vibe I get it too. Like, I guess it's going to take more than that. Damn, I wish it were easier, is the vibe I'm getting in there. Boy, I wish this whole thing was easier. This whole life, this whole path was easy. I wish it was easier, is the vibe I'm getting. So that's what I'm getting. Again, I could go further, but like I said, we went really deep with your interview. So I'm going to stop there for now on the scanning part, and let you reflect on anything that you know, that you want to say. Like, yeah, I just like, yeah, just feeling all that energy now. So yeah, so yeah, anything you want to say about all that?
Oh my goodness. First of all, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. I really appreciate that scan. And so much of what you said was absolutely spot on, especially just looking at the heart chakra and really feeling like, you know, it is my responsibility to help people. Of course, that starts with me helping myself. I know this. And it's very important, you know, for me to practice what I preach, which is what I do. And I feel like that is adding so much value, you know, to myself and to others. And so I love what you said there, and everything, you know, just so much wisdom in being able to do that. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. I was grateful to share with you. And so yeah, let's just go ahead and put a little bit of a wrap on some things. So tell people where they can learn more about you again, and where they've got a great free gift, really, like the 5, you know, keys we talked about before. Like, you have much more that people can get into. So tell them what you have for them for the free gift.
Absolutely. So if you go to drbthomas.com, and that's B like Bumblebee, BEE, you will click on a link there and it'll give you access to a free gift. This is right in time for January, the beginning of the year. It's a calendar that you can print out. It's a working calendar where it has a journal. It has several quotes from my book and several quotes from other leaders, business leaders, that will help inspire you. Every month, there's an exercise that is applicable to one of the 5 keys. So you want to make sure you go on drbthomas.com and download your free gift.
All right, great. Okay, that's awesome. So check that out, everybody. Again, we'll put links in the show notes, and it sounds great. Yeah, and you also mentioned to me that people, yeah, with being able to go through a whole calendar for the year with utilizing these keys and principles along with the calendar, like, it's brilliant. So it's a brilliant thing. I'd love for you guys to check that out. And all right, and then as far as myself, again, you can reach me at yoursacredpurpose.com. I do all this fun energy scanning stuff, and to help you, you know, just help you see some things that maybe you haven't been fully aware of or fully paying attention to, or maybe not aware of yet at all, and to dial in, you know, strategies, you know, just on an energetic base. We didn't even get into the details today, but you can see like I just start dropping in. I'm like, okay, and then we could build this, we could do that. Before you know it, like we're like, oh, we got the working out the energy, we got the strategy. Okay, we know the actions. All right, everything's feeling really good. And so we work through your energy. So if you want to get started with that process with me and get tremendous value, everybody says, wow, wow. Usually after one of my energy scans, so you just go to yoursacredpurpose.com and book your energy scan session with me. And it's not just some free session. You actually have to invest in a little bit. And to get this party started, I've been doing this for a long time, trained people to do it. So I'm okay at it, so check it out. We'll start rocking it. Rock your sacred purpose at yoursacredpurpose.com. Also, there's a meditate, make money meditation. It's awesome for open your chakras and getting more clarity and letting the energy of money to drop into your system. I know Dr. B tried it out too, so you can check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. She's giving us the thumbs up on that one. So do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. All right. So Dr. B, thank you again for being on. Any last quick words for the audience before we wrap up?
Thank you for having me on the show. Again, everyone, expect effing more.
Right. Yes. Hallelujah. I love that. Okay, awesome. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm so grateful Dr. B was here with us today. And we did some energy scanning with her and everything. As I always say, keep on tuning in and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time. The Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.